Hey guys, first time ever for Pratt's Greenhouse going live. So we'll see how this goes. We'll wait to see if somebody pops up here. Spur of the moment, we've had snow and pretty brutally cold weather. We have 10 degrees coming up tonight and looks like possibly 0 tomorrow night. So it is going to be nasty. We've been working in the greenhouses, getting them cleaned up, getting them all ready for plants, but that probably won't come for another couple of weeks. The first plants, so we're basically in cleanup and repair mode. So today, I thought, it's kind of hard to get motivated on a day like today. We had a little bit of farming work to do this morning. Of course, the regular feeding cows and putting in hay, feeding grain. Did a little of this and a little of that, and then I thought it might be a good time to come sit in the greenhouse and work on these Bloommaster baskets. We have quite a bit of things that can be done before the first plants get here. We can do prep work so that there's not as much to do when the pressure's really on. So it looks like we have a couple people watching. I didn't give any notice for today's video. It's just the first time I've ever done it, so I'm kind of wanting to play around with it and see how it goes. We can actually probably have more time to do some live videos than anything else. My biggest problem has gotten to be time for editing. It's usually that's done in the evenings, and live video seems a little easier. We'll see how that goes. So we'll see who all pops up here, and we'll just go ahead and get to work. What we've got on these Bloommaster baskets is, I'll show you what they are. I've done some videos on them before. They've got, hey Matthew, good to see you. I'm glad you came along here. They got holes in the sides of them. In my opinion, they have way too many holes, especially for what we put in them. We will fill these up with soil, and then we only plant in the top ring of holes there because you can get so root bound. We usually plant these first thing, which is right around the first week of February, because we want them big and ready to go by really by the middle of April. So we really have to push them. But even at that, if you put plants in every hole of this basket, this is, I believe, a 6-gallon. They call it Bloommaster. They make different sizes. We've gotten, after all many years here of kind of playing around with it and seeing what works best, we used to do the first 2 rows here, but we've kind of even gotten away from that, and we found we can put a plant in every hole around the top row, and of course they'll come down. What we use all trailing plants, mostly petunias, in those, and then we'll put 3 to 5 plugs in the top, depending upon what we're putting in there. So we just kind of have learned over time that that's probably the best for us. They get plenty big enough, starting them that early, putting the heat to them, fertilizing them good, and we have no trouble selling them by mid-April, and they're normally gone by the 1st of May from here. So that's what we do, and today's job, basically, they hang with chains, and basically we just have to get the chains in these little holes in the top. They come with a U-bolt and the chain, and we have to go through and do all those. We do about 130 or 32, something like that, of the Bloommasters. Great seller for us. If you got greenhouses and you got plenty of room, man, there's a demand for them. Customers love them because they're different, and they have one drawback. Probably the biggest drawback to them is the space that it takes to grow them. About spaced every 4 feet in the greenhouse is about as close as you can put them together. Because they get so big, they start growing together and don't do as well. So when you're looking at square footage in a greenhouse, as far as spacing goes, you're not making any more money on this Bloommaster than you are a row of 10 or 12-inch hanging baskets. The pot itself is really expensive, and you know, you have to charge a lot for them, but you can't charge really enough for them and be able to sell them to make more money than you would just putting a row of 10-inch baskets up. But the thing is, since they're so different, you advertise them, and that'll bring people to your greenhouse, and then they'll buy other things, hopefully while they're there. So that's the big thing. They pretty much, I mean, I give them a lot of credit for our business here. We started doing them early into our business, and nobody else around does them, and you know, anywhere close to me. So they have been a big boost to our business. Not everybody buys them, but we advertise them. We get it out there on Facebook, and it seems like people will come here just to see them, and then they'll buy other things while they're here. So it's worked out pretty good. And as long as I can, you kind of got to be physically able. They're heavy. I mean, they're probably 60, 70 pounds, watered in completely and grown out fully. So they're hard to handle, and as long as we're able to do it, we're gonna use them. But we're gonna get started. I brought a few in here, so we'll just get started with this, and I'll try to watch for some comments there. You guys have any questions or any interests in anything greenhouse related or even farm related, just throw it out there. I'll try to catch it there on the, I'm using my little old phone, so it's kind of hard to see the screen. Basically, this just comes with a U-bolt, a couple of nuts, and it comes with 3 chains. Last year, and it's probably going to be the same this year because I didn't go through all the chains, but last year we put them all on, and the chains, the 3 different chains were 3 different lengths, and that was a disaster because they started, every basket was hanging just a little bit crooked. So I had to go through and adjust chains. All spring I was adjusting chains, trying to get them all to where they would hang straight. I mean, that sounds kind of infantile, but it really matters when you're watering them, because you can when you start watering, you've got a little reservoir on the top there to water in, and it'll run out the side quicker, and it's a lot harder for the customer especially to get it watered. They could be done. They make much smaller baskets than this, Matthew. Probably half this size, and I've tried them. I've tried the different ones, and I mean, the problem you get into as far as trying to raise a few of them, the cost is ridiculous. I mean, I have to buy half a pallet, which is 150 baskets, to get the price that I get. And if you go down to, you're just buying a few baskets, oh my goodness, you're looking at $20 to $30 a basket, depending upon if you just get 1 or 2. So the price kills you if you don't need very many of them. So if you can find a greenhouse that is close to you that has, or that raises them, and you can just buy a few off of them, that would be the best thing to do. They are an expensive basket, no doubt about it. That's like I heard the guy say there, they just knock your eyes out whenever they're in their prime. They're beautiful. Nothing else like them. Let's see. Got to keep from twisting my hand off. Trying to keep my eye on any comments that might pop up or questions. Phone gives me about 2 seconds to read your comments. So if I don't do a good enough job answering, that's why. I didn't get it ready quick enough. So this is a job that you think is going to be kind of a miserable, boring job, but once you get out here and get started on it, it's not too bad. Kind of like when we used to milk cows. I used to dread milking every evening. We milked about 130 Holsteins twice a day, and it was a dread on you all the time. Well, once you got down there and got in the parlor, it wasn't so bad. Always had somebody in there with you, and you could usually have a pretty good time at it. If we decide to start doing a few more of these lives, I'll give a little bit of notice. Hey, Trina. That's not, it's kind of loud, isn't it? Looks like we got 4 on here. Boy, we're big time. Hope everybody's staying healthy. We've been pretty lucky here. We don't go anywhere. Don't hardly leave the creek. Got a couple cows, well, a cow and a first calf heifer that have been here starting to make udder, and they look like they are just about ready to pop, which I don't think they could have picked a worse time. There's snow on the ground, and looks like it's going to be 0 tomorrow night, and it seems like that's the way they'll do you every time. Wait until the weather gets really bad, and I particularly worry about the first calf heifer. Man, she's getting close, and they don't know the ropes. They don't know how to handle things there when they have that calf. It's going to be born wet and in the snow. It'd be awfully nice if she might wait a few more nights. But I was looking at her there this morning when I fed, and she looked pretty close. Been having a little bit of trouble getting some supplies in. I guess that's COVID related. Normally the supplies that we already have here and ready to put dirt and flowers in, I guess there's still some of them sitting on the water. Of course, a lot of the banana rope type cone baskets and decorative baskets that we use, of course they come from China, and they're not here yet. We're still waiting on some hanging basket hangers. We had trouble getting 10-inch hanging baskets. So I guess it's going to be a different year, and the cost has been quite a difference. 30% increase on plastics this year. The soil was up a little, but it wasn't too bad. It was completely manageable. Seeds are up. Surprisingly, I didn't have any trouble getting any of the seeds that I needed this year. Already I have those all in. That's something that worried me, because we do a lot of vegetables, and we order those a little bit early on the account, I was afraid that we might not be able to get them. Got them all in, but now they did increase in price quite a bit. Quite a bit. So now we're kind of struggling with, you know, of course we have to raise prices some with the 30% increase in materials, a lot of the materials. But we kind of have to sit down and figure out what we can do. We don't want to overdo it because our customers can't just absorb, you know, that complete increase. So we haven't decided yet. We're going to sit down and look everything over and try to come up with a price list before too long. Try to get ahead of it just a bit. But you know, we're kind of just a small mom and pop, I guess you would say. Don't have any employees. But we have to be able to make enough money here at this greenhouse, in this little small greenhouse, to hold us the whole year, to buy supplies and just a living. So you gotta also, you have to factor in inflation and how much we're paying more for everything else in our lives. So we have to think about that too. So it is a tight wire we're going to have to walk and try to figure out. What can we do without harming our customer too much, because they're in the same boat we are as far as inflation and spending more money on everything in their life. So that's something we're going to have to work on in the next month. So as far as cost of supplies goes, we already know what the difference is on everything. So we can begin to sit down and come up with something. But I can say for sure it's going to have to be more. We're going to have to charge a little bit more. Little S-hook that we put together. I'm sorry I missed that comment. I don't know if I can pull it back up. Let's see here. There we go. I got a couple comments there I can read now. Yeah, well, we don't keep the greenhouses heated all year, Matthew. We won't start heating them until about the 1st of February when the first plants come in. And I start doing little test runs here this time of the year, just to make sure everything's working. But as far as heating goes, we don't. Oops, I have to get away from that camera. And 25%, you're right. Some of the numbers that I've been hearing from other greenhouses, especially some of the wholesalers that we deal with, is an increase of 20%. So I think maybe that's something to shoot for. John, we still have a few of the dairy cows actually, and you know, that's something I've been rolling around in my brain. Is maybe starting to do a little bit of maybe milking, just for our personal use. But we kept, yeah, you're right. We have thought about selling shares, and that's about the only way you can get by with it legally. So we've thought real hard about that. We'd have a heck of a market. I mean, we could sell all the milk I think that we could come up with. And I've thought I kind of even did a little improvement in my barn out here to set up so that we could milk a cow or two, and just kind of go from there. We'll see how that goes. That is something that I've thought about. So I don't know. We have I have 2 Holsteins, and my brother has a couple of Holsteins left. But you know, actually right now we've got a beef cow out there. We just brought her in from across the road there. That's really calm and easy to handle. And she'll be coming fresh here probably in March. And we have actually hand milked her some. I don't know what the quality of her milk would be. Yep, cheese and butter. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that people are looking for. It really is. I don't think we would have any trouble selling all that we could come up with. I really don't. We haven't gotten rid of any of the milking equipment at the dairy. We kept everything, the milk tank. But it does need, if we were actually thinking about milking for real, you would have a pile of money in getting all the repairs made that would need to be made. Yeah, where'd you work, John? What'd you work at? I think you're right, Matthew, about that's kind of been our goal over the last several years, is try to figure out how to be as independent as we can possibly be. That every decision that we've made here, that has been in the back of our mind, is every move is how can we be independent? How can we be independent? I think that is going to be so important in the next 10 years. Everybody ought to be learning how to grow a garden. If you're not learning how to grow vegetable plants by now, I don't know if there's any hope for you. It's not that difficult, and if you can just learn how, you don't have to every year. Just learn how, and then whenever you do have to, you know, it's there. So that's, we have picked up probably more vegetable sales in the last couple of years since COVID hit than ever before. They're always popular, but man, oh man, a lot of new young people even are wanting to learn how to grow a garden. Now 300 head, that's a bunch. 130 is the most we ever milked. And that was enough for us. It was my dad, my brother, myself, and my wife trying to do it. Boy, there's no breaks. That's one thing about it. It's not incredibly physically hard work. But you got to be there. You got to do it every day. I don't know that I would ever sell milk wholesale anymore. It's something that the reason I got out of that was because not knowing what I was going to get paid next month, I couldn't handle that. I mean, you know, the equipment is ridiculous that you need to run a dairy. If you're trying to grow your own feed and all the rest. And then when you don't even know what you're going to get paid next month, that's bad, because you can be doing good, making $20 100, and then all of a sudden they drop you to $12 or $13 a hundred in a couple months' time after you've had to buy a new manure spreader because you were confident in the price. That wasn't for me. That got old. So we do have a little bit of price control here at our greenhouse. At least we kind of know what we're going to be getting. Anybody just joining us, what we're doing here today is putting together Bloommaster hanging baskets. This is one of the biggest draws probably to our greenhouse. Historically it has been. Even though it's one of our it is our highest price item, we still sell a lot of the big Bloommasters, and it's because there's nothing else like them in our area. And they're not easy to grow, space-wise and that kind of thing, but what we're doing is just putting together the chains and the hangers. This is how they come. I'll show you. We've got as many people on here as we have had. So they come each with a little packet of chain hangers and a U-bolt. And basically, they're for you to put together. So they got holes in the top of them there. that the U-bolt, we just put it through the last link of the chain, drop it through those 2 holes, and then put the nuts on the U-bolt. I mean, it's kind of a time-consuming job, but everything about these baskets is time-consuming. There's nothing easy about growing them. There really isn't, and probably that's why nobody else fools with it. But they have just been, they've been such a good draw for us that as long as we're physically able to handle them, we're going to stick with them. But they'll be one of the first things that we plant in the spring, usually around the first week of February. We like to have them ready to go by middle of April. See if I can see a comment there I missed. Yeah, you're right, John. If we could get, it's the same way with the butcher shops. You know, the packers have just about destroyed the beef industry. At one point, they were making close to $2,000 a head profit. I think now they're down $700, something like that. Profit now, after all expense, profit. The farmers ain't been getting, they're not even hardly breaking even. So that's the thing. If we had more people butchering animals, that would really help. And it's the same thing with small farms. The small farms have just been decimated. And you know, you got to wonder, why would they? I mean, we're spending almost $1 a gallon on grain right now for cows. I mean, we have hay, we feed hay, we make our own hay, but in order to have enough hay, we pretty much, you know, we sell some square bales, but we can't really grow corn. Corn's expensive, fertilizer's expensive. So you're looking at $1 a gallon on grain, and we like to give our cows $1 or a gallon a day. So you got to think about that. You go to feeding that much per cow per day, plus everything else that goes into it. You know, there's not a lot of money to be made. Never have done the hydroponic thing, but I've seen a few setups. I will say this, I think it's about 20 degrees outside right now. Snow on the ground. It's 70 in here, so we heat with natural gas, so we can, that's probably one of the pluses for the greenhouse business, is being able to work in 70-degree weather, no matter what it is outside. I love that part about it. Usually by this time of the year, it's so nasty outside you can't do anything else, so it sure makes it nice to be able to come into the greenhouse and work at something. It's a whole different world in here whenever we get the plants going. It completely changes this place. Right now it's kind of dead and like a warehouse almost. Man, when you get plants in here, just the first plugs makes all the difference in the world. The smell, just the entire environment is just, I like it. I can't even think about starting up a farm. I don't know how anyone would do that. Thanks, Lynn. I think it was Lynn. Yeah. I hope we can help somebody. We're not experts by any stretch. We never went to college for any of this. We started with a few plants in 1999 and grew a few different plants each year and tried to learn those plants is how we did it. We started in a 12 by 24 foot greenhouse, and I'll tell you a funny story about how we come to that conclusion. There was an old guy that had a dairy farm in Wayne County across the river from us in West Virginia. Really a smart guy, and he had switched from dairy to greenhouses, and he was really on top of his game, doing a good job. So Trina and I had begun to think about it long after he did, and we thought, well, you know, we need to go visit this older guy and see what we can learn from him. So we went to his place, and he took us through his greenhouses, and he had probably 100 different varieties of plants in there, and they were all nice. And he started explaining to us how he did things and what he did. And I asked him if he was going to start over again, what size greenhouse would he build? And he said, don't ever think about building anything smaller than a 30 by 96. Well, by the time we got out of there, I was scared to death. We just come home, and he gave so much information that it scared me. And we put it off for probably 3 or 4 or 5 more years after that. And then we ended up building a 12 by 24, which was a mistake. We should have, of course, you can fill a greenhouse up a lot quicker than you think you can. So he was right. 30 by 96 works out better as far as everything you buy. Plastic-wise, when you go to recover it every year, that's kind of the common size that the plastic is made for. Comes in 100-foot rolls. So, but anyway, we just started in that greenhouse, and we started with tomatoes and marigolds, and I don't know, we had a few petunias, I think. And every year we would try to pick up 1 or 2 plants that we hadn't grown before, and we would learn those plants over the next couple of years until we learned them, and then we just moved on and on and on until we finally have come up with a pretty good selection for people. And probably if you're thinking about starting for real a greenhouse, the most important thing that you need to do is test your water. Send your water. I did mine at Peter's Laboratory. You can Google them, and they'll send you a kit and tell you how to do it. And you can send that water off, tell them what you're wanting to grow to begin with, and they'll tell you how to amend that water in order to get it correct, what fertilizers to use, how to correct the pH in that water. They walked me through it and really, really helped. For several years, I had no idea about controlling the pH, but it's the most important thing you can do. That makes the difference on quality plants, is knowing what plant needs what pH and how to feed it. So some of them are really, really particular about that, and I had to learn that the hard way. But Google Peter's Laboratory if you're wanting to start, Lynn, and get that water tested before you do anything. Don't do like me and go 2 or 3 years and lose product and have poor product, because that'll cost you customers. So that's the most important thing you can do. The second thing I think the most important would probably be to make friendships with other greenhouses. Maybe even work with a greenhouse and try to learn some tips. Try to learn some tips from them before you get started. Okay, let's see here. Yep, I'll do that, John. I'll try to get you a tour of that. All right, guys, I think I'm about to lose my phone. Looks like I'm getting a low battery. This is my first little trial run of a live video. We may give you a few more of these as we're doing things through the spring, but we're just kind of testing the waters here on this one today. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I do appreciate y'all coming along and watching. So we'll catch up with you on the next one.